work quietly and follow along. At any point, click the pause button to catch up or take a break. Today we're going to be painting a miniature mural of like a brick background and then doing some graffiti over the top. For this, I have a very small sponge that I cut up from a regular sponge in the shape of a brick. And then I have these 4 colors, white, black, brown, and orange, that we're gonna mix to get like a red brick pattern. Okay, I'm gonna start with just taking a little bit of each color in a variety of places on my sponge. And then one area on my plate, I'm just gonna keep dabbing up and down and flipping my sponge to get a good variety of color. Now the cool thing about this technique is the sponge is naturally going to texture it like a brick. Okay, don't be afraid to add orange, that gives a really good fiery color. Making sure my sponge is covered. I'm then going to start at the top, and I'm moving left to right because I am right-handed. That way my sleeve or my arm may not drag in my paint. Okay, now you can line up in the corner, you can go a little bit off. I don't want to just start kind of how normal. You want to make it look like the brick has continued on and off the page. So I am going to go a little bit, I can line up at the top, I'm going to go off just slightly. And I'm going to give it a nice firm press and bring it back up. Voila. Take another dip in your paint. Add a different color if you want. Now I encourage you, artists, to flip your sponge in different directions each time. Next, what we're going to do is keep it about the same height. You can line up the bottom, and we're going to leave a little space in between to make it look like the brick has concrete in between. Now you don't want too much paint on your sponge, otherwise it will kind of smear and it won't look as straight like a brick. I'm going to add in a little bit of black this next brick, little variety, and I'm going to keep going. So what you are doing is you are using a basic stamping technique for this. Good. I'm just going to flip my sponge right away. Try to get it as even as you possibly can. Good. I'm going to mix in some white. Maybe you want a grayer brick. I'm going to go to the edge of my canvas, keeping it in line. Okay, now this would be the concrete where it would be in between. So next what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go right next to it, about halfway, and leaving some space from my top brick. And I'm just going to continue all the way across. Refill a bit, get some browns in there, change up my tones. Straight up and down, nice press. I have a lot of paint on that one, so I'm just gonna flip and I can repeat. Still have a lot of paint, so I'm gonna keep going. Okay, and now we are at the end, so I'm just going to line up my sponge, give it a little tap. There we go. I'm going to bring in some white tones for this next row. Now I like to line up my sponge with the very first row, so my odd rows. This is row number 3. And just to get started, I'm going to have to lean in a little bit. It's best when you're going directly over the top, then you're most likely going to be more accurate. Okay, here is my brick pattern. We're gonna let this dry and then come on back. We're gonna add the concrete, our gray wash paint effect. I have my sponge, I rinsed it out, and I'm going to dip it in a cup of water. And on this tray here, I have a little bit of black paint. you're going to want it to be just slightly tinted your water with this gray. Okay, and then on hand, I like to keep a little bit of extra paper towel just in case I wanna clean some up. So here we have like a nice kind of transparent black. You can always add more water. This is for a wash. That's pretty good. And what you're going to do is you're gonna take your sponge and you're gonna run it on the cracks in between each brick. Now, what you'll notice is to the bricks, we're going around the outside edge, and that automatically gives them a little bit more dimension. You're gonna do a small section. Okay, put down your sponge. And then this is where the paper towel comes in handy. I like to wrap it around my fingers and just kind of dab it a little bit, taking off some of that, giving me a little bit of a texture, rubbing some of it off. Need the extra. Okay. Now you don't want to take too much of it off, just enough that it gives it like a gray effect. There you go. And you have to play with it a little bit, work the paint around to find the right ratio. You can go over the brick if you want them a little more dull and dingy looking. Okay, but here you can see already the brick has popped out more. We went around the edge. I'm gonna go continue on. Okay, so here I have my template of my words. I used an awesome graffiti font, and then I printed it out. I cut it out around each of my letters, pretty close. I left some on the inside. You're gonna wanna do that. This is gonna be your template and your stencil. That way you can pick up your words and space them how you like. You know, you can do it by letter and have them all different ways. It gives you a full range of motion and opportunity to how you wanna customize your graffiti. So I'm gonna just give mine a few more adjustments. Okay, here we go. There's some of my inside pieces. Making sure, for me, I like it kind of centered. And what I'm going to do is with my pencil, hold it down. I'm going to trace around it to the best of my ability with each letter. I traced around with Sharpie. Now keep these as a reference, because what I can do now with my pencil is I can go in and do the inside letters if you did not. Now that I have my graffiti letters nice and cleared thanks to Sharpie marker, I'm going to use paint to fill in the letters. And I highly encourage you to look at some different graffiti styles and colors and find one that works for you. Now I'm going to use a Sharpie marker to outline all my edges and bring back some of these inside lines.